Black Widow over the weekend became the largest post-pandemic opening, $80 million in the theaters, but also, interestingly, $60 million on Disney Plus, where Disney is charging $30 for folks to see it with Premier Access. Rich Greenfield is with us now, longtime media watcher, partner at LightShed Partners. And Rich, you've written a lot about the strategy behind the theatrical window shrinking and now seeing the simultaneous release. To you, is that a validation of that strategy?
This is a watershed moment for the industry. There is no doubt that the studios are learning that they are becoming more powerful. They don't need the theaters as much as they used to. Do they still want theaters? Sure. Do they make money on theaters? Absolutely. It's a good business. Movie theaters will be around for a very long time. But the leverage in the relationship is shifting towards the movie studio. They're realizing they can generate a lot of money directly to consumer. They actually get to have a direct relationship with the consumer. They know who you are, and you don't have to go to a movie theater. This is a pretty profound moment. If you think about it, this movie did 158 million globally and 60 million directly at home. Disney keeps 80% of the 60 million. Of the 158, they probably keep, maybe 60%. And, like that number goes down as the film plays longer and longer. So this is a big signal that direct to home movies that, don't have to be seen in theaters are here to stay.
And on that point, Rich, where do you think the industry, and by the industry, I mean directors, writers, actors, are in accepting that a lot of their films won't get seen in theaters? Whereas a couple of years ago, that was such a big thing. It's supposed to be seen in a movie. It feels like if you're a big star, you've got to accept that someone's living room is just fine. And the numbers are starting to maybe back that up.
Look, I always think there's this inherent tension of visibility or fame, quote unquote fame, and money if you're talent. I never know which in Hollywood is more important. There's no doubt that, when you look at these streaming services, Disney Plus over 100 million global subscribers, Netflix over 200 million. Remember, those 100 and 200 respectively, probably 3 people per household. So think about how many people you can touch in an instant by making your content available on these services. Yes, Disney's charging an upcharge, but Black Widow will be available at no extra cost in a few months on Disney Plus. The reach that these services provide is unparalleled. So you can reach more people on streaming than you ever could through the theatrical business before. And the money side is going to have to get worked out. I mean, I think that's sort of the biggest struggle that you're seeing studios like Disney. Warner Brothers obviously fixed it by opening up their checkbook and paying talent big numbers to shift films directly to streaming. My guess is Disney's going to have to do the same. And, there is definitely growing tension between talent and the studios when they make these changes, but money fixes it. This is nothing money can't solve.
So, Rich, essentially, what you're saying is Disney underpaying its talent?
Look, I think in this streaming era, how you pay talent, remember, it's not just about box office anymore. It's not even just about, I think Val mentioned the 60 million from Disney Plus Premier Access. But remember, when you make content available on Disney Plus, does it bring in new subscribers? Does it cause a subscriber to be happier? That lets you raise price over time. If you think about the way Netflix thinks about it, the film is, you're not being paid specifically on the impact of that one film. You're being paid on what does it do to Netflix, the service. My guess is all of the studios are going to have to adjust to that same type of formula, which is basically what Warner Media did. If you look at sort of the Warner Brothers, it was that huge uproar around when they shifted Wonder Woman and the whole slate. All these other studios like Disney are going to have to follow Warner Brothers' lead. It's just about paying talent, on a more holistic basis for these streaming services.
Let's talk about the other side then, Rich, the side that you said now maybe has a little less leverage. I'm talking about the studios. You've waded into this before in terms of talking about AMC. I don't know if you're loath to do it again, because we know what happens when you criticize any of the meme stocks. But I mean, is there anything instructive about what happened this weekend for the theater chains?
The theater chains are in deep trouble. I mean, deep, deep trouble. Investors do not, the investors in these stocks do not understand how substantial these changes are. I was seeing people in some of these Reddit forums talking about, oh my God, how great it was. The film still did more in theaters than it did in streaming. That's missing the point. The studios are learning that they are becoming more powerful. The splits, how much the studio gives. It used to be 50-50 between studio and theater chain. Disney's pushed it to 60 plus to Disney. It might go 70 or 80% towards the studio. They don't need the theaters as much. And remember, the theater chains, like you have AMC up on the screen right now, AMC was not making money pre-pandemic. I mean, that's the most important thing. They weren't making money pre-pandemic. Now you're looking at attendance that is nowhere near what it was pre-pandemic. Each weekend, you're seeing that numbers falling well short of what you would have expected, given all the excitement about the reopening. Yes, concerts are being booked crazy. You're seeing travel blow out. Movie theater attendance is not blowing out. This is a substantial contraction versus where we were in 2019. And I think when you look at what happened this past weekend, we're never going back. And that's a big problem for these movie theaters because they weren't making money. They're not going to make money in the future. This is, if you look at the story of AMC, we have a 1 penny price target. We remain confident that this company is massively overvalued. This stock should be down far more than it is today. The whole industry has real trouble. It will exist for a long time. Movie theaters will exist. They're just going to be a lot less profitable and a lot smaller business than they are today.
Rich, did I hear that right? You still have a 1 penny price target on AMC. To me, that's a company that may not survive the next 5 years.
I think that's an accurate assessment there. If you look at the math on this, remember, they weren't making money before the pandemic. They can't even issue. The one thing that actually would help this company would be issue massive amounts of shares. They're not even allowed to do that because their new retail shareholder base won't let them issue shares or issue more shares. So this company is really in a bind where their business is eroding and they have substantial debt and they really have no way out. So the ultimate answer is this company is going to shrink. It will take time. There's people buying this for uneconomic reasons. There's even people conflating it with other versions of AMC. The reality is this company is substantially overvalued. The industry is changing, and this stock is worth nowhere where it's trading today.
Rich, come at me, Greenfield, joining us once again this morning. It is great to see you, Rich. Always good to get your perspective. Rich Greenfield of LightShed Partners. Appreciate it.